That was me. Bathrobe, tactical slippers hair that could scare the mailman, staring at a single sad fun-sized Snickers wrapper, brown and blue, a smear of mud still damp from the morning dew. This little piece of plastic, according to the gold-embossed violation notice I held in my other hand, was about to cost me $500. 500. For a wrapper smaller than my thumb. Think I'm exaggerating, God, I wish. It was one of those moments where you just stand there staring at the evidence and then at the crime like, who'd I tick off in a past life? Because I'm allergic to peanuts. Swear to God. Said it out loud to the empty street just in case the universe was listening. Even the squirrel in the oak tree across the lawn flicked its tail and gave me that judgy look only Oakbridge wildlife can pull off. My name's Jack, by the way. If you're wondering how a perfectly sane contractor like me wound up in Oakbridge, here's the dirt. About 6 years back when the market dipped, I bought the ugliest house on the prettiest block. Fixed it up myself. Calluses dirt under the nails. Cold beer in a can. None of that craft stuff with whimsical names. Ford F-250 not for show. I'm basically the natural predator of every HOA president in the wild. And our HOA, led by the undisputed Queen Bee, Patricia Patty Vanderhoven. Silk kimonos, fountains spitting water out of cherub mouths, and a glare that could freeze hell over. She definitely wrote the letter. So I cinched my robe, jammed my feet deeper into my slippers, and marched straight down my driveway, evidence baggy swinging. The neighborhood manicured to death. Lawns at exactly 2.5 inches. Mailboxes lined up all the same. Silence thick as the mulch. I stomped up Patty's walkway, skipped the bell, and pounded on the mahogany like it owed me money. She cracked the door just enough to let her eye out, blue shadow and all. "Jack," she says, all velvet and frost. "It's 8:15 on a Saturday. Why are you on my porch in your sleepwear?" "Open up, Patty. We need to talk about this." I held up the baggie, not sure if I wanted to laugh or cry. She gave me the sigh of a woman who thinks she's been sent here to teach the rest of us a lesson. Wrapped her silk kimono tighter pinky up on her tee and just looked me up and down. "Well," I waved the violation in her face. $500, you lost your mind." She didn't even blink. "The board takes cleanliness very seriously, Jack. It's a candy wrapper, Patty. Fun-sized. Wind probably blew it here. It was on your lawn. Our bylaws signed by you say you're responsible for all debris on your parcel regardless of origin." She was actually quoting the rule book. I wanted to eat my own shoe. "I'm allergic to peanuts, Patty." Waving the Snickers evidence bag like I was on Judge Judy. "If I ate this, I'd die in the street." "That makes sense." She just sipped her tea. "That's hardly relevant, is it?" That was the jab. Classic Patty. Unlike some people, she keeps things clean. Meaning me. The guy who sometimes parks his truck outside because the garage is full of tools. The guy who built his own deck. "I'm not paying it," I said, voice down to a growl. "Then we'll apply a daily interest rate of 10% followed by a lien on your property." I stared into those eyes, nothing in there but HOA bylaws and the cold calculation of someone who's never been told no. I pulled my foot out of the doorframe. "Fine. You want to play by the rules? Let's play by the rules." "Good. Make the check out to the OPS. Have a blessed day." She slammed the door so hard I heard the deadbolt, the chain, the universe sighing with me. I stood there vibrating. Then as I turned, I spotted it, a dumpster. Not a little residential bin, but a massive battered construction dumpster overflowing with debris. Contractor brain kicked in. Wet insulation, old drywall, rusted metal, busted tile. And it was overfilled past the line. A gust of wind whipped up, tossing packing peanuts and plastic wrap like a party gone wrong. A sheet of plastic did a lazy spiral across the property line and landed right in the street. I stared at the dumpster, then at Patty's door. "Possession is 9/10 of the law," I whispered in my best Patty voice. The wind gusted again, knocking a piece of jagged siding onto the sidewalk. Nobody watching. I snapped photos, filmed the styrofoam peanuts drifting toward the storm drain. The dumpster was so full the back end was hanging over the side yard, just inches from the community ravine. The ravine, technically a common area, a little strip of woods owned and maintained by the HOA. That's when I saw the drag marks leading from Patty's yard straight into the brush. My heart sped up. Not anger now, but the hunt. The curtains twitched. She was watching. I grinned and waved, then shuffled back home. Candy wrapper drama? That was nothing. We were about to have a real conversation about trash. Coffee in hand, I logged onto the HOA portal, not to pay the fine, but to download the full 300-page rulebook. Control+F debris. Article 9, Section C, yeah. Article 12, common areas. Article 12, subsection 4, dumping $1,000 fine per occurrence. Good, but not enough. Patty would just pay it. I needed nuclear. Control plus F, lost property. Article 4, section 2. Anything found in the common area that can be identified as a homeowner's has to be returned immediately. It's the duty of any resident. I started to grin. Not a vigilante, just a very responsible neighbor. So when night fell, Oakbridge changed. Shadows swallowed the perfect lawns. Silence got heavy. At 2:00 a.m., dressed in black, I slipped out the back, hopped the fence, and ducked into the ravine with a flashlight. The drag marks were obvious now. I pushed through the brush, and there it was, not a few bags in a legal dump. Dozens of black contractor bags ripped open, spilling everything from tile to old carpet to a cracked porcelain toilet. This wasn't windblown trash. This was a one-woman landfill expensive stuff, heavy gross piled up in the HOA's woods. I filmed everything. Still, a pile of trash is just a pile unless you can prove whose it is. I dug in, gloves on, and there it was, a flattened shipping box addressed to Patricia Vanderhoven, 442 Maple Drive. Prescription bottles, contractor invoices, the smoking gun, the whole arsenal. Could have called the city. She'd get a fine whine about it and nothing would change. No, I had to go bigger. I had to give her trash back personally. I waited for Sunday, the day Patty was hosting the Spring Beautification Committee mixer. The universe really does have a sense of humor. I called in favors. Mike from the rental yard lent me the biggest dump truck he had. Dave and Steve, buddies from way back, one board accountant, one gym teacher who lives for chaos, signed up as my crew. Midnight Tyvek suits, headlamps, shovels. We moved every bag, every stick, the whole toilet through the woods and into that yellow truck, laughing and gagging the whole way. Heroes, right? At least eco-warriors with a questionable sense of justice. Noon the next day, I put on my Sunday best. Patty's street was lined with BMWs and Subarus. Her French doors opened to spring air and tiny cucumber sandwiches. I drove the dump truck up, rumbled past, shifted into reverse, beep, 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 and the neighbors started filming. Patty in a white dress face, going pale as she clocked what was happening. I stopped the truck 6 feet from her front steps. Air brakes hissed. I waved. Afternoon, Patty. She was already shrieking. I held up my laminated printout, Article 4, Section 2, Return of Lost Property. Found a few things with your name on them in the ravine. Bylaws say I have to return them immediately. She begged, threatened, tried to reason. I just smiled and said, fire in the hole, pulled the lever. 4 tons of trash avalanched off that truck over the porch into the house, a toilet rolling majestically through her French doors and coming to rest on her Persian rug. It was like a slow-motion train wreck with the world's most satisfying ending. Silence, then chaos. Patty shrieking, guests coughing, and drywall dust, neighbors streaming it all live. Police cruisers pulled up, lights flashing. Officer Gonzalez' mustache-tired eyes took it all in. I calmly handed over the bylaws, the invoice for $500, and the candy wrapper told the story, pointed out the labeled debris. Patty tried to deny it. But the boxes, the prescription bottles, the invoices, they all had her name. Officer Gonzalez read out the bylaw. He turned to Patty. Ma'am, dumping in the ravine is a felony. She tried to blame her contractor, but I had video. Her neighbors looked at her like she'd grown an extra head. Gonzalez turned back to me. Sir, we can't arrest a man for returning lost property. Drive the truck back slowly. So I did. Patty. She was left standing in the ruins of her Reputation police tape around her porch, city hazmat team, hauling out what used to be her dirty little secret. The fallout was fast. Emergency board meeting, no, Patty invited. 42 bags at $1,000 a pop, plus the cleanup, plus city fines for unpermitted renovation. She moved to Florida 3 weeks later. I became HOA president on a common-sense, no BS platform. First thing I did, repealed the rule about minor debris. Second, I put up a plaque on the bench in the ravine. In honor of the great cleanup, don't mess with the working man or his candy. Sometimes when the wind's right and I'm drinking a cold beer on my deck, I swear I can still hear the sound of all that drywall sliding off that steel bed. Most beautiful sound in the world. So tell me, where do you draw the line between rules and justice? Is karma real, or do we just have to deliver it ourselves? Ever had a run-in with someone like Patty? Drop your story or your take in the comments. Let's see whose HOA horror is worse.
Cảm ơn các bạn đã xem video.